Hello, welcome back to the Only Aki's YouTube channel for the fan interviews after Hamilton 0, Ross County 1. Let's be honest, not a great performance, a very, very disappointing result. David, what did you make of the overall performance from the team?
Oh, gutting. Absolutely fucking gut it. My logic in my head are completely out my arse right now. I'm just absolutely gutted with that. It was just, we played okay, but I think the second half was just all wrong. We seemed to, the first half, we get very, very lucky. Granted, it was a good save for Ryan Fulton, but if I'm being honest, I think that Lee Irwin should have done a lot better with that.
Absolutely.
He lifts that off the ground. That's 1-0 County in the first half. So I think that's more a chance missed for them. After that, I think we dominated possession. Didn't create an awful lot. I think Lewis Smith and Callum Smith looked lively. I'd be interested to see why Callum Smith came off. It must be a niggle, because I actually think that he looks very raw. I mean, he got a couple of shots on target. Granted, both of those he picked up and then switched over to his right hand side. So it looks like he's very one-footed. So he did okay. He looks like there's a player in there and we'll work with him. I'm absolutely gutted.
And what did you make of a lot of fans were saying that obviously it's a big mistake from Ryan Fulton. I'm sure I'll talk to other fans about him kind of more in depth, but a lot of people saying that you have to put a lot of blame on Brian Rice today and how he set the team up and how the substitutions came. What do you make of that?
The setup of the team, it was surprising. I mean, I think Callum Smith made sense. He wants the wingers to run at him, and that's what we seem to do, and it seemed to work really well. Opening half hour, Lewis Smith especially, really was taking me in there. I think the setup was okay. Me, not to have a go at the boy, but Andy Winters, he's getting a wee bit hung out to dry with starting. He's a great player, great prospect for us, but it's the same thing with like Jamie Hamilton last year. It's just, he can't be throwing him in just yet. He's not a starting player. He has to be inconsistent at this stage. He's not going to be quality starting to start with. The substitutes really what I think lost us the game. I mean, it wasn't until we went behind until we bring on our most influential player. I think if we, probably sounding naive, but if we brought him on between the half hour and the 70 minutes, I think we could have been in front ourselves, because there was a period in the second half where we were dominating possession, getting loads of corners, taking it to them, and I actually put a tweet up at that point saying the game's for the taking here. It was just after Ross Stewart hit the post, because we were dominating up to that point, and then County get one chance and hit the post, and I just knew in myself that we were just as capable of losing this game than we were winning it. Obviously, the unfortunate happened. We got absolutely done there. Looking at the other results as well, it's going to start setting us root at the bottom. I'm just absolutely gutted. There's no twist in this. There's no excuses for it. There's nothing positive to take. End of the day, a couple of guys look great. There's times where we played well, but at the end of the day, it means absolutely fucking nothing. It hurts a lot more in the games where we really should have won than the ones we got absolutely blown away. Like you say, we got what we expected last week at Parkhead. Didn't dampen the spirits at all. We were buzzing. I was absolutely buzzing for the day, but we should have done a lot better.
Also joined, of course, by Brandon as usual. Brandon, I know you're feeling it the now, man. I've just spoke to David. He's extremely disappointed. What did you make of the game?
Fucking, I don't know what was worse, the performance or the commentating, honestly, man. Oh, mate, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. It's just, there was so much wrong with that whole performance. Ross County were pish, but were in the driving foot the whole game. And that summed it up. Ross County, any other team in that league would have beat Ross County there. They were poor. Like they've got good assets in their team, and half of them were just non-existent as well. But yet they were constantly in the driving foot. don't think Rice had a clue what he was doing either with some of his subs.
Yeah.
I think he was just when we've went 1-0 down, he's just done a 8-year-old in FIFA tactic and just humped on all the attackers
All the forwards
possible.
on.
You know what I mean? Not having any sort of structure whatsoever. Past seasons, we've not had the best of squads, but we've always had in certain areas key assets.
Yep.
That squad there. See if you put that squad in League One with Falkirk and Thistle, I don't think they'd win that league. That's my true opinion of them. I know it's obviously early days in the season and obviously 2 defeats, so everybody's going to be jumping the bandwagon and storing negativity, but I struggle to find any positives out it whatsoever.
I'm interested to ask you, so we were talking before, and I've talked to other fans about this as well, about Brian Rice's substitutions, and what you said there was, you know, got to the end of the game, we're already 1-0 down, and then we start bringing players on. I think you're absolutely spot on in saying that he didn't really look as if he had a clue. Humping long balls up to David Moyo all day, wasn't doing anything. And the fact that it took him for us to be 1-0 down to make any changes isn't acceptable. Isn't acceptable at all, in my opinion. I would like to ask you, though, about Ryan Fulton a little bit more, because in the first half, he pulled off a great save. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Vigers or Erwin, sorry, if he'd lifted that off the ground, that's 1-0 county. He pulls off a great save. And at that point in the game, I was watching with my dad, and we both thought, that's a fantastic save. That's kind of what we're after. But whenever a ball came in the air, and you know, Gary Woods used to get a lot of stick for this as well. Whenever a ball came in the air, he was almost fear of it. He came out to collect the ball and completely missed it. And if it wasn't for Fjortoft reading the game well to hoof it away, it was 1-0 there. And obviously the goal that came, the ball's coming out. How on earth is he not catching this thing? It's not. And what got me even more about it was, everyone makes mistakes, but it's a shocking mistake to make. He should never make it. But the cheek he had to turn around and then shout at the defence.
I know. Literally not even 5 minutes before, the exact same thing happened previously. It would happen for the goal. The first half is a good save, and the thing with Fulton I've always noticed, he's a big boy, right? Yeah. I've noticed him make good saves like that.
Good shot stopper, yeah.
Good shot stopper when it's close range. I'll have to give him that. Mm-hmm. But no, when you're a keeper, you need to command your area. You need to be confident in yourself. It looks as if he has none of that, and we just can't leave it too late before we solve that problem. Fair enough if Rice is thinking, someone will battle it out with him for number one. We'll get it sorted ASAP before waiting too long before it is too late. Because look, that's us played a team that's been tipped by quite a lot of people to be doing there with us, and they've played horrendous and they've comfortably beat us. We didn't look to threaten them at all. We're doing the same out ball all game. Big hoof the ball pish. You know what I'm like with Fjortoft. I genuinely thought Fjortoft was alright today. I don't think he had much to do, to be perfectly honest, but he didn't make any mistakes, so I'll take my hat off to him for that. The signings are needed ASAP. I don't care if he says, he doesn't want to recruit so many. He needs to recruit, because we need experience. You can't go into a season when average squad age is 23 where there's no players in that team that are shouting out, they've got the ability, they've got to change a game for us, because there's no many people in that team that do much for me. I knew I couldn't see why I drink so much. That was just I was honestly off it all weekend. That was my plan, and I was fine yesterday. This has happened, and honestly I'm away to the show now, because that was fucking and I don't mean to, I know it was the first game commentating, but they need to go already. I'm sorry, they need to go. One of them's obsessed with Hearts. The other one thinks Scott Martin looks like Sean Want. And it just seems like they were, I don't know. Get me and you on the commentators.
And our final fan today is Ewan. I'm afraid to ask after speaking to Brandon. What did you make of that performance? How do you think we went?
It was incredibly uninspiring, more than anything. Ogie in the team, Moyo was asked to do a lot of the heavy lifting up front, considering how direct we are. And while I think he tried his best, he just did not have the support to do it. And there's not much else coming from that team. I think we saw early on in the game, while countering through Lewis Smith, we looked quite dangerous. But the options ahead of him were poor. But also thought his use of the ball was quite poor. He draws in defenders so well, but I think he just constantly waited too long today, and that broke down a few attacks. Defensively, I thought the centre of the park is so weak. Callaghan and Martin, decent enough ball winners. I think if you get them too high up the park, there's just so much space in between the defence and midfield. We saw it in Celtic's first goal on Sunday. We saw it really early on today. I think there was 3 or 4 occasions in the first half where Fjorthoff and Want got faced up way too easily by County's attack, and that when you've got an uninspiring forward line and far too easy to play through, it's a recipe for disaster, really.
And what did you make of Brian Rice's substitutions? Obviously, I suppose waiting until we're 1-0 down isn't a great start, but what did you make of the boys that he brought on?
I thought that first of all at half time the Smith one was quite weird. I'm not sure if he was injured or anything, but I can understand his thinking from a tactical point of view. He wanted to try and solidify the middle of the park by getting Trafford in there, but I thought Andy Winter would have been the more sensible substitution instead of Smith, because he looked really direct. Obviously got a couple of shots off the goal as well. He looked decent enough, whereas Winter, I just didn't think, I didn't really understand his thinking there. Later on in the game, it was just bringing on Templeton. Obviously, you want him to come on, but play him on the left, I just don't think he can do that anymore. You want him in between the lines, which was a weird decision. And then the timing of him, as you said, he waited till 1-0 down as well to make a few of them, and it was just, by that point you're just already shelling balls up to Moyo. What could a bunch of substitutions going to do?
I mean, I'd like to ask you about something in particular. I've seen quite a lot of fans kind of agreeing and disagreeing with this point of some people saying that Ryan Fulton cost us the game. Others are saying that it was the way Brian Rice set up his tactics. I'm interested to know your opinion on that. What do you think ultimately cost us that game?
Well, I suppose face value is Fulton, isn't it? If he doesn't make that mistake, it might stay 0-0. But it's not his fault that there's just no ingenuity going forward. And as I said, midfield's just too easy to play through. I don't think you can necessarily blame him for that, but let's be honest, I think we were kind of waiting on him chucking a game anyway, based on what we've seen of him before. He had a decent game against Celtic. He still made a mistake for one of their goals as well. But, I mean, it's like on Vaughan Williams last season. We had a much better goalkeeper waiting on the bench, and he was waiting until Vaughan Williams chucked 2 or 3 games away before making that decision. But I suppose the thing is, this season, Kyle Gurley, we don't know, but we don't have a much better goalkeeper on the bench.
And there you have it. It's finished Hamilton 0, Ross County 1, in what ended up being a very disappointing game. Some people blaming Brian Rice for the way they set up, other people blaming Ryan Fulton's mistakes. Overall, it was an uninspiring game from both sides, really. Nobody played necessarily well. It was a very scrappy game in the middle, and ultimately it gets us off to a terrible, terrible start. 2 games, 2 losses. On the other side, it's a great start for Ross County. 2 games, 2 wins, both over the Lanarkshire clubs. We'll look ahead to midweek. If the game goes on against Aberdeen, whether that actually happens or not, we're still waiting to hear. After that, it's a very, very important game against St Mirren. I suppose not a huge amount of positives. One big positive that can be said is Aki's TV was brilliant. Well done to Marcus Nash and everybody involved. Seen quite a few tweets, and obviously Brandon mentioned it in this video, but the commentators, it's their first time commentating. Let's kind of lay off a wee bit, let them get into their stride and then make any judgments. Overall, I think the presentation was fantastic. The stream was great, graphics were great, and the interviews at halftime and before the game with Brian Easton were very, very good. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to let us know what you thought of Hamilton's performance in the comments down below. You can also reach us on Twitter and Instagram, both of which are linked in the description. And once again, don't forget to check out the 12th Man website, where you can find all the fan media reactions. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you again soon.